Well, good evening. Hopefully you have had a good day at school today. And what we are going to do today is work on finding the mean and the range. So what you're going to do is, first of all, go ahead and hit pause and copy down this information. So go ahead and do that first. Alright, it says that the mean, which means the average, find the sum of all numbers, then divide by how many numbers were added. So find the sum, meaning add all of the numbers together, and then we're going to literally count how many numbers we actually added together, and then we're going to divide by that. So the first thing we need to do is to add these all together. So when I add these up, it ends up equaling 66. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. So we're going to take 66 and we're going to divide by 6, which gives me 1. Subtract, 0 left over, bring down the next number. 6 goes into 6 one time. So my answer to this is that the mean equals 11. Okay, so once again, you're going to add all the numbers together, which we got 66, and then we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers, and that's what you're going to divide by. Okay, sometimes you'll get a whole number, sometimes you'll get a decimal or a fraction or mixed number. So not always will you always get a whole number for an answer. The other part of today's lesson is going to be on the range, and the range is simply the difference between the largest and smallest number, which means difference meaning subtract. So when we look at this set of numbers, what is my largest number? Well, my largest number is 15. What is my smallest number? And I see that it is 7. So we're going to find the difference, which is subtracting, and we get 8 for an answer. So my mean is 11 and my range is 8. So let's try a few. It says find the mean and the range for that set of data. So go ahead and do letter A. Alright, so we're going to add these together, and I get 9 plus 6 is 15, plus 11 more, which is going to give me 26, plus, and then I'm going to add these two numbers together, which is going to give me 14, and I'm going to add that to my 26 to get 0, carry the 1, and I get 40. So 40 is my total, that is my sum, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, so I'm going to divide that by 5, and 40 divided by 5 is exactly 8. So my mean is 8. Now my range, and I'm going to have to erase these so I can see what they are. My range, again, is going to be my largest number, which is 11, and my smallest number, which is 6, and I'm going to subtract them, and I see that I get a range of 5. So this equals the mean, and 5 is the range. Again, if you have questions, please make certain that you make note of that, and certainly ask me in class tomorrow. Letter B, go ahead and solve this. Now we've got some little bit larger numbers, 3-digit numbers, so take your time, be careful when you add these up, very carefully. Go ahead and hit pause and solve these. Alright, so this is obviously going to take a little more time, a little more accuracy in adding these all together. So 494 and 502. Add those up and I get 6, 9, and 9. That gets rid of those two. Then I'm going to add 486 to this, and I get 12, carry the 1. 17 plus 1 more is 18, carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 4 more is 14. Now we're going to add 690. Add those together, and I get 2, carry the 1 is 17. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 more is 11, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Now I'm going to add my 478. And I get 10, carry the 1. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 is 15, carry the 1. 4 plus 1 plus another 1 is 6, and 2 by itself. So I end up getting 2,650. That is not my answer. I am needing to now divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So we're going to have to do some long division. 5 doesn't go into the 2, but it does 26, so that's going to be 5 times for 25. Subtract, and I get 1. Bring down my next number, which is now 5 going into 15, which goes 3 times, which is exactly 15. Then I have to bring down my next number, and how many 5s go into 0? 0. So I end up with nothing left over, no more digits to bring down. My answer for the mean is 530. Okay. Now for my range, I have my largest number, which is 690, and my smallest number, which is 478. Finding the difference, I'm going to now have to borrow, because 8 cannot subtract 8 from 0. So I'm going to borrow from the 9, which is an 8. It makes that a 10, so I get 2. And now I can subtract 8 minus 7 is 1, and 6 minus 4 is 2. So my range is 212. Alright. Again, please take note of this if you're having difficulty, and I'd be happy to help you with it tomorrow. Now we have a little bit smaller numbers, a different set, so go ahead and hit pause and solve this. Alright, so let's go ahead and add these together. These two numbers are going to be 15, and my 15 plus 3 more, that's going to be 18, so let's add those together, and I get 13 plus 3, or 3 ones is 3, so I get 33, and then I have 9 and 8 is 17, so let's add 17 to this, and I get 10, carry the 1, and I get 1 plus 1 is 2, and 3 more is 5, so there's 50, and then my 7 and 5, that equals 12, so we're going to add that on, and we get 2 and 6. And you can see I added these couple of these numbers together just so that I'm not adding so many digits together over here. It just kind of helps combine a few of them and makes a little bit less work over here. But either way, whatever works best for you is perfectly fine as long as you can get to that answer of 62. And now we are going to count up how many numbers we have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so we're going to have to divide this by 8. And when we do that, you are going to see that we're not always necessarily going to get an even number. So we might get a remainder, we might get a fraction or a decimal. So how many 8s go into 62? Well, we can look at this. Does 7 go into that? Well, that's 56. If we do 8 times 8, that's going to end up being 64. So we're going to have to use our 7, which is 56. And we're going to subtract. And we're going to see that we're going to have to borrow here from this number, 5. And that's 12. So 6 minus 12 is 6 left over. And so now we have an option, and my best advice to you is to make this into a mixed number, a fraction. And so our remainder is 6. It's going to be over whatever we divided by out of 8. Okay, and then we can reduce this by dividing these numbers by the greatest common factor, which is going to be 2, and that's going to then make that 3/4. So my answer to this is 7 3/4. Okay. Many of you are still at the stage to where you're still writing it as a remainder, like 7 remainder 6. That is one way of doing that, but you're going to find that we do not use remainders when we can simply make it into a fraction just as easily. If you wanted to make it a decimal point, then we would need to add a decimal up top, and we would have to add a 0 and bring that down, and that would go into it 7 times again, which is 56. Subtract that, and we have to borrow, and that gives me 4. Then we have to add another 0, bring it down, and how many 8s go into 40? Well, there's exactly 5. So we end up getting 7 75/100ths for the median. Excuse me, the mean. Jumping ahead of the game. So that's my decimal value. If you wrote it as a fraction, it would be 7 3/4. For the range, a little easier to do. 15 is my largest number, and my smallest is 3. Had to look at that very carefully. So we subtract that, and you can see if we borrow from the 1, this is going to be not help us one bit. Some of you like to do that and find yourselves to where, so we end up getting 15 minus 3, and you would not need to borrow from this. You get the 2, bring down the 1, and so you end up with 12. Okay, so my range is 12, and that's it. Hopefully you have understood this quite well. I think you're going to find that the range is going to be the easiest. Again, subtracting just simply the largest number from the smallest number, and the mean is a little more complex, a lot more numbers, a lot more larger digits to work with. So it's adding all of those together and dividing by how many digits we actually added up. So obviously the digits or the answers that we get that are mixed numbers or for decimals, those are going to be a little more difficult as well. So it's going back to a lot of the same stuff that we have done in the past. I know that you've done in 5th grade, but it is still not totally fresh in our minds, so we got to continue to have it brought back to the surface so that we can recall that information, and the more we work with it, the easier that will come. I'm certain of that. We'll spend some time on it extensively on just decimals and fractions alone, so no worry if it's a struggle for you with that at this point. It's again going to take us a little while to get back into that mode again and recall some of that information, so we'll continue to work on that. The key here is, again, making certain that you understand those two concepts to find for the mean and the range. Have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow.